So let's go ahead and construct our map view. All right, so we could create this map view somewhere else, but I'm just going to put inside of our quick detail just to simplify our lives. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, say struct, and call this map view. Okay, and then this will confirm to the UI view representable as such. Okay, just we don't forget, I'm going to go ahead and import a few frameworks here. So the first framework I'm going to use here, I'm going to just add foundation just in case we need it. And I'm going to add another import here, which is going to be UI kit. That's very important. And yet another one, this one is going to be the map kit as such, because we need that. All right, so we have our map view here. Now we're going to go ahead and start constructing this map view. Well, first of all, this map view will need data. So I'm going to say var data this, and we are going to pass features because that's where we get all of the information from the API. So I'm going to say var data, and this is going to be features as such. Very good. Now the next thing we need to do here is we need to actually override a function. Whenever we are conforming to a UI view presentable, we need to override the make UI view. So I'm going to say func make. The moment you start typing make UI view, there it is. And this here is where we actually going to run the code, which is going to be read by SwiftUI engine to actually show the map. So in this case here, there's a few things happening, but the first thing we need to do here is that the context, I don't need to pass everything. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I want to be just the general context as such, and I don't need to pass any type that we're expecting there. Okay. And in this case here, I'm just going to get rid of the UI type view as such. So we just expect it to return a map view like that. Next, we're just going to use the MK map view, this one there, and we're going to just pass frame.0. Right? So just a generic frame here, rectangular, whose origin and size are both 0. It's a good starting point. All right. Now we're having an issue here. That's because it shouldn't be just map view. It should be MK. Make sure we go to the actual MK map view as such. There we go. Now we have no problem. And we still have a problem here. No worry, we're going to ignore it because we can actually keep doing what we're doing here. And the next thing we need to have here is to override the update UI view. So I'm going to say func update UI view. There it is. And for our update UI view, we're passing a map kit map view. We're passing our context, which in this case here, I'm going to do the same what we did before, just a generic context as that. And we don't need to specify anything there. Okay, just like this. And voila. Now the update view, as the name implies, this is where the view is going to be updated, meaning this is where we can actually write out the user interface, in this case, our map. So the construction of our map is happening here. I think I've said that it's going to happen here, but not really here. We just like making sure that we have the view to show the map, right? So the actual work happens inside here. Next, we need to create an annotation. An annotation is an object that allows us to create all sort of things to construct an actual point that we're going to put in a map. Okay, so I'm going to say let annotation, and there's a lot of things you can do with it or add to it. You will see in a second. It's going to be MK. Notice we are using the MK prefix here, right? It says at the bottom, the MK, it's an embeddable map interface similar to the one provided by the Maps application. So we're using that. In this case, we're actually going in and we're going to create a point annotation. Okay, there we go. We're creating that object there. And then we're going to create coordinates, which is the actual location, longitude and latitude. And I'm going to say CLL location. Okay. But I don't want just the normal one. I want this location coordinate 2D. That's what we need to create what we need. Now, this takes in a latitude and a longitude. Now, where do we get those values of latitude and longitude? Well, those values we get from our API, of course. But most importantly, notice that our API here is very strange because it says geometry and then it's an array of coordinates. Okay, so there's 3 items in these coordinates, which means we have to use the index and go through and find exactly the values we want. The other thing also here to remember is that the first value, which is value 0, is longitude, and the first one is latitude. Okay, and this third one is some other value which we have no interest in. So let's go back to our code here, and start getting that. So we have the data here, which is handy because we need that to fill with our latitude and longitude. So for our longitude, I'm going to say data dot, I'm going to go to geometry, right? And go to coordinates. Look, it even gives us help here. So I want coordinates, and I want to go and get the first value because I know it's an array. I can just go ahead and pass 1 like that. Okay. And for longitude, same thing, data, geometry, and coordinates. And I want, of course, the 0th index value. I think I should say this was the second value because this is the first one, but you get the point here. All right. Very good. Making good progress here. We have a few warnings, but they will go away soon enough. And next, we're going to create a span. So I'm going to say let span is going to be equal to mk coordinates span. There is such an object, which means we need to then pass a few parameters here. So latitude delta here, we're going to pass just 1.0 and longitude also 1.0. Okay, there's our span there. And once we have that information, then we need to set a region. Now, to set a region, we need to use the UI view because this is the actual map view. Okay, so what's happening here, if you think about it, is we're creating all the pieces that we need to then have the mark on the map. Okay, so next here, we're going to create a region. So I'm going to say let region. It's going to be, again, mk coordinate region. All very helpful here. And I want the center, like that, to be coordinate that we created, and the span is going to be the span that we also created here. Does it make sense? So now in region here, we are passing the coordinates. So now we are kind of triangulating the location that we want by creating this little region here, okay? And we pass the span, which we added there. Okay, so once we have all those pieces, now we are able to get the map view, which is being passed as UI view there. I'm going to say UI view. Be careful that you need to get the exact one here. So UI view like that. Dot. I'm going to set the region to what? Well, the region is going to be the region that we just created. And animated, meaning you want this to be animated when it shows. Sure, why not? Okay. Very good. So then we are going to use our annotation here, right? Because this annotation, we can add all sort of information to it. The information we can add to our annotation is one, the coordinates. We can add a title. We can add a subtitle and so forth, right? So I'm going to say annotation. I'm going to pass the coordinate here. It's going to be equal to the coordinate that we created. Let's make this coordinate because it's just 1. That's probably better. Let's change that to coordinate. Very good. So it's going to be equal to coordinate like this. And the title, right? It's going to be equal to data.properties.place. Annotation, we can even add, let's see, subtitle. We want this to be something that would say magnitude. And I'm going to say data, properties, mag, like that. Okay. Now, once we have the region, which we add into our set region, and we are adding things to our annotation, well, we need to pass that annotation into our UI view. So I'm going to say UI view, which again is the same view here, which we actually set up the region. So UI view again, that add annotation. There is indeed that method we can use. So what annotation? Well, the one we've been working on, this one here. So now our view, which remember, it is indeed our map view, the actual map, has a point that we have added, which contains all this annotation, which has coordinates. We have the place name as a title, and a subtitle is going to just show us the magnitude of that place. Very good. So now we have our map view here, which we can call inside of our Quake details, and that is going to happen in the next video.